This is a conversation with Carla Rucker for the Kentucky Marriage Equality and Religious Liberty Oral History Project. We're in the studio room of Breckenridge Hall on Morehead State's campus located in Rowan County, Kentucky. It is 10:30 a.m. on June 23rd. My name is Sherry Kelly. Carla, can you give us a little bit of biographical information? Do you care to tell me where you were born and where you grew up?
Sure. I grew up in Mount Washington, Kentucky, which is right outside of Louisville in Bullitt County. Raised there on a farm, and then I graduated high school, came to MSU as a student back in 1975. Graduated in 4 years with a double major with honors and all that good stuff. Raised in the Baptist church. Have met my husband here. He's from Fleming County, and so we've lived in Morehead in Rowan County since 1981, I believe. So.
Okay, thank you. You kind of mentioned that you were raised in the Baptist church.
Yes.
Do you care to tell me a few of your childhood experiences?
Okay. Is related to church?
Sure.
Okay. When I was 8 years old, I was up in the balcony, and I heard somebody call my name. I said, Carla, and it was so real. I looked around, and there wasn't anybody there. And at that time, I knew that God had called my name. Regardless of how flaky that may sound, it's real, and I know it's real. So I became active in the youth group, and we had a small ensemble. We sang, we traveled and sang, had a large youth choir. We did musical programs in our high school at the time, and God's always been very real to me, very important part of my life.
Right. What about your current church membership or your organizations that you belong to or are involved in?
Okay. As I said, I was raised Southern Baptist. When I met my husband, he was actually raised a Methodist, and somehow we ended up in the Assembly of God Church. So we are members of the Assemblies of God. My husband is actually an ordained minister. Currently, we just have church in our home, and we have a family that comes all the way actually from Montgomery County and meets with us. And we've been doing that for a number of years. Involved with some other friends locally that we pray and we meet together, and there's some unity there, and so that's always good.
Okay. How did you become involved in the religious liberty movement? Or did you become involved? When they scheduled the prayer vigil, we participated in that because we strongly believe in the sanctity of marriage, that marriage is between a man and a woman, period. When God said to multiply, to procreate and multiply, you can't do that unless you're a man and a woman. And that's just one of the reasons. He set an order, how things are to be. And when we don't do that, it's not that he's a God up there with a stick going to beat us. It's because that's what's best for us. He loves us so very much that he wants what's best for us. And that is what's best. That's how we can actually be fulfilled. You mentioned the prayer vigil.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Is that the prayer vigil that you went to here?
Yes.
Or were there other prayer vigils you went to?
The one that we went to, of course, we prayed at home. Right. And then we heard that they were having the prayer vigil at the courthouse. So we met there. I don't remember how many there were. There were quite a few that were there, and we prayed together there. There was the whatever happened in Grayson on September the 8th. We weren't able to go there because we'd already scheduled, and actually the statewide Assemblies of God was having a prayer meeting that day at Cane Ridge in Bourbon County. So we had about 300 people there that were praying, not just for the marriage equality stuff, but just praying in general for an awakening to come to Kentucky.
How did you first react to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on same-sex marriage, which was on June 26th of 2015?
I was very grieved. It hurt because it tends to legalize something that God has not set in order, and it's wrong. And like I said before, it's not wrong because God's waiting for a stick to beat us with. It's not wrong because it's a don't do this. It's wrong because it goes against the natural order of things, the natural order of way we were created, and that hurts us, that tears us apart. John 10:10 says, Satan comes to kill and to steal and destroy. But I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. It's part of Satan's plan to steal and to kill and destroy. He wants to steal our joy. He wants to kill any life in us. He wants to destroy our happiness because he hates us, and that's what he's out to do. But that's not what God's about. You know, he loves us, every single one of us, and he wants us to be fulfilled and happy. So that's
okay. What about your reaction to the Rowan County Clerk's decision not to issue marriage licenses to either straight or gay couples? What was your reaction?
I guess my honest reaction is I got pretty frustrated with the people that say she just needs to do her job. She did her job. According to state law, marriage is between a man and a woman. That's what the state law said, and she upheld not only her personal convictions but what the law said. You know, and if we don't stand up for what we believe in, then our lives are pretty purposeless. So it's important to be who we say we are, genuinely, but always with kindness and love, and not pointing fingers and not bashing anybody, because that's also against who God is.
What was your involvement in the movement? I know you said you went to the prayer vigils.
Yeah, really didn't, as far as demonstrating or marching, it didn't do any of that, because it's, to me, it's God moving on our hearts is what does it, and have spent and continue to spend a lot of time in prayer for the whole situation, for the people involved on both sides. And other than actually going to the prayer vigil that one time, I really haven't done any other kind of demonstrative actions aside from praying, and most of that's been at home.
Right. So would you consider yourself an activist before the events of last summer and the marriage equality, religious freedom?
I don't think I consider myself an activist at all in anything. I'm active in that I believe what I believe, and I want to live it day by day. And it's hard. We're all people. We're all humans. We all make mistakes and goof up. Actually, we all make mistakes and we all sin. But I want to be who I am, and I'm not ashamed of who I am. I want to be a light and hope for people that have none.
What was your immediate goal last summer with everything that went on?
My immediate goal was to see lives change. Those, again, broken people need hope. We need love. We need to be one. So that there's, I'm praying that Kim, I support Kim Davis with my whole heart, and I pray that she stands strong. She's been through way too much. To be threatened to losing your retirement is ridiculous. She's been sued. She's been lambasted and verbally beaten. It's awful, the abuse that she's had to withstand. It's wrong. I think part of the
one of the things that bothers me most, they say, well, we want tolerance. We want tolerance. Tolerance should be both ways, and it hasn't been. It's not. People have been intolerant on both sides, and that's wrong. So that's how I feel.
Thank you. When you were at the prayer vigil, did you feel that the environment was safe, or did you consider it unsafe?
No, I felt absolutely safe. I didn't feel any threat of danger or anything at all from any side.
Do you think your tactics were effective? I know you mentioned prayer, going to the prayer vigil and prayed at home.
Yeah. I think it's an ongoing process. I think that there's a lot, that goes on underground that you don't see. But to an extent, yes. It's, thankfully Kim has kept her job. She has stood strong, and that's been part of our prayers. So, yeah.
If you had to do over again, would you have done anything differently?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I still feel as strongly or more, even more strongly than I did last summer. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And again, we need to stand up for what's right and what we believe in, with kindness and love, not with bashing and a militant, I'm going to get you kind of attitude. That doesn't get you anywhere.
Do you think the Rowan County Clerk best represented the cause of religious liberty?
Yes, I think she did. She stood her ground. It's frustrating when things aren't consistent. When a person can stand up for what they believe in one venue, and it's wonderful, it's great, but another person standing up for what they believe in, which may be different from what the first instance was, then they are condemned and verbally horsewhipped. So that whole equality thing isn't so equal sometimes. It's I want equality for this, but in that equality, you're stepping on somebody else. So it goes both ways, and so you just need to be a little more tolerant on both sides.
Do you think that the Rowan County Clerk deserve to be imprisoned?
Absolutely not. In fact, absolutely not. She was, not only was she upholding her personal beliefs, she was following the law and should never, ever have been arrested for that. Never.
I think that's why they said she was imprisoned, because she was not following the law.
But she actually was following the law according to the Kentucky statute. She was following that law.
Do you think she should have received any punishment?
No, absolutely not.
I thought you might say that because you didn't think she should be.
And in essence, even though the Supreme Court does not have the ability to make law, and that's what they did. They returned a judgment that they had no grounds, no basis to make. The Supreme Court does not make law. The legislators do. So they stepped beyond their bounds. They were actually unconstitutional in what they did. So I have heard some say that they should be all judged for treason themselves because they did not uphold the Constitution, and they didn't. So no, she's absolutely right. And again, we support her 100%.
I know you said you didn't go to Grayson when she was released, but what were your thoughts upon her release?
I was proud of her because of what she, what she withstood, and that she was strong enough in her faith and her own personal beliefs that she did what she did. I was glad that she was released.
I was glad for the support she was shown. I was a little dismayed at some of the reactions from both sides. We don't need people coming in from out of state that are, shouting things, like the whole Westboro or Baptist Church thing. We don't need that. That's not what this is about. It's about her being able to stand up for what she believes in and not being punished for it. And it's also about what's right and what's wrong, in that marriage is between a man and a woman. And when you break down the family, which is what that does, then we have very little hope for mankind.
You mentioned the out-of-state reactions.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, you have people coming in and they'll have hate stuff all over their vehicles, or have their megaphones and they're shouting hateful slurs on either side, and that's wrong. And you can tell that it's some of them are paid activists. We just don't need that. If you want to do your protesting, you protest where you're from, but you can leave us alone. Mind your own business is kind of, I guess, how I say that. And I don't mean that unkindly, but.
What are your thoughts on the reactions of your local elected officials?
I'm currently serving on a grand jury, and I'll be real honest. I was dismayed, not real happy with some of the comments. I was in Florida, and they even brought up Kim Davis down there and acting like it was, she was a poor representative. Not as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, I'm proud that she's from here, that she stood up for what's right. Like I said, we don't need that outside stuff coming in.
What about your thoughts on the mass media, political leaders that were involved last year?
I don't have a great appreciation for media, to be honest with you. I think they so often try to skew and have it to say, they want to say whatever they want you to think, and unfortunately, so many people choose not to think for themselves, and they go with whatever they hear, and that's a shame. So I really don't care for mass media that come in from anywhere. I don't, I listen to the news, but sometimes I wish I didn't, because you can tell so often it's so slanted, and they so try to change your perception of what's really real. So I don't care for that at all.
Kind of as a follow-up question, do you think that it deserved the attention it received?
I think the attention it received was because they have an agenda, and they're trying to shove that down our throats, to be honest. It's extremely important what's going on, because it really is going to shape the future of our nation with those kinds of decisions. Obviously, it has caused unrest. It has caused, with the recent shooting in Orlando, that with the Islamic and the gay club there, it is a big deal. But I just wish people would tell the truth, and the president is, they've talked about him trying to delete things out of the 911 calls and not give the truth on those transcripts. Why can't we just let the truth be the truth and quit trying to change it into what we want it to be, or our own agendas? And I think that's really, really frustrating.
What are your opinions on the outcomes of the religious liberty movement? You have kind of touched on that.
Sorry, say that again.
Your opinions or your thoughts on the reactions, on the outcomes of the religious liberty movement. And you've kind of already mentioned that, so if you want to elaborate on that more, that's fine.
If we're truly talking about religious liberties and its outcome. America was founded based on the fact that they wanted religious liberties. And I heard recently that our history books since 1920 have been changed into I guess more or less propaganda. If you really want an accurate picture of history, go back to the books published before 1920, and I can see that. There have been some things that have been proven true there. So the outcome of religious liberty should be that we can actually be free to choose our religion. We're not forced by the government. They keep talking about the separation of church and state. That's not in the Constitution. And where it came with, I think it was Thomas Jefferson that wrote a letter to somebody, to a Baptist association. And it's where religion is forced on a people, and that's not what we want. That's not what we have, or that's not what we have had. Where we can choose to worship God or not. That nobody can say you have to do this or you have to do that, but you can do whatever you choose, as long as it doesn't break the law, which is what's happened.
Right. That's a very interesting comment with the religious liberty, where it's choice. Yes. Would you call your efforts a victory or failure?
Well, I don't think it's over yet. There's still more to come. Still praying, believing. God's word is true, and He says there that everyone has sinned, or all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. He says that the wages of sin is death. So if we choose to sin, either we pay the penalty, or we ask Christ to pay the penalty that He paid be applied to our lives. So that's, I think, how that's how it relates to me. And I think we, knowing that hope is always there, will help with that outcome that we want. Right. And that's for those people to be saved and have joy and peace, and to be who they've been called to be, and not believe the lies of the devil to, well, you can do this and be happy, because it doesn't work.
I know you mentioned that you don't think it's over.
Right.
But with the debate over religious liberty or marriage equality, what do you think might be in the future? Since you don't think it's really over yet.
Well, I know there's a gay pride parade scheduled for August, and I'll be real honest with you. I have some friends and family members that say that they're homosexual, and I love them. I care about them. I want what's best for them. But I'm praying against this, the parade. I don't want, and the reason is not because I want to be mean and say you can't do this, not because I want to be intolerant, because I want them to be whole and happy and free. So like I said, I don't think it's over, because of things that happen, and until it's actually
things that's
resolved.
Already happened. You mentioned Orlando.
Right, exactly, and it's going to continue to happen until things are resolved.
Do you have any other comments you would like to add?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you, Carla.
You're welcome.